Here's a breakdown of how I made this entire TV head character from start to finish. I'll be covering the modelling, the texturing with layers, the rigging with weight painting. I've cut the whole thing down quite a lot, but I haven't sped it up aggressively so I can still explain the nuances of what I'm doing. I have actually recorded the whole entire 8-hour process, talking through the decisions I make, the mistakes I make, and some of the fixes. The full version with all that detail is available on my members area on this channel. If you're looking for something more structured, then do check out my character creator course. It's much more methodical and gradually builds up the complexity, so it's much better to go from beginner to this kind of level. So I hope you enjoy the process. So as always, we start with a sketch, and you can see that I line up my character, making sure I've got the side view and front view there. I've sped this process up a lot because I just wanted to show you that you make sure your references line up side view and front view, and that's obviously what you'll see in the background. The modelling of the television itself is relatively straightforward. I use a subdivision surface modifier to make sure, of course, you've got your supporting loops in the correct positions. You can find out more about hard surface modelling in my Get Good at Blender series on YouTube, or my hard surface modelling course, which I'll put a link in the description to. I separate the different aspects out, so on a TV you'd expect the outside to be molded with some plastic, and then obviously you get the inside shape, which I'm working on here, and that's a separate model, and then the screen is a separate model as well. So each time I'm separating them out, it's much easier to texture like that, and it's much easier to model as well. I always base it on the one that it's surrounding, so I copy that face, as it were. Then I can go in, edit them at the same time and move them all across so they kind of stay attached together. That's the thinking. Then things like the knobs, they're all separate objects as well, with the subdivision surface modifier, just placing those into position. I put in this kind of speaker bit here, but I changed that a little bit later on because I didn't really like the way it looked. And that's the basic model of the TV. Then there's modeling the body. Again, fairly straightforward, just starting with a cube and just adjusting it slowly and building up. There's my reference image, you can see there with the anorak. And I'm just slowly building that shape. This is kind of the seam or the stretchy bit around the bottom. I try and keep everything really nice and simple, only add topology where you need to. I'm using the mean crease tool there just to crease things up as well. And the zip was the awkward bit. Now you can see I've done a loop cut, but I stretch out the back so the supporting loops don't impact the shape too much, and then I kind of extrude it inwards, but it is a bit awkward around the base there and the top, and I have to go in a little bit with the knife tool and cut things up so it works with the topology. But that's relatively straightforward. You just make sure you cut in and keep it in quads where you possibly can. You don't have to panic about the quads too much, especially with a simple shape like this, but generally you're trying to keep the quads because it's much easier with the subdivision surface modifier. The legs, again, just a cube. They're separate objects. Once again, nice and easy, nice and simple, just following the reference. There's the subdivision surface modifier, using the bevel to create some more cuts, and then I move it down and just create that kind of folds at the bottom of slightly baggier jeans, although he's got very thin legs. The material, to make it look like material, it sort of creases up at the bottom. I took a fair bit of time over this and used the mean crease again to kind of create those folds. The shoes were quite awkward. They're always quite an awkward shape really, but I again start with a box, just extrude it out and really slowly build up the shape. And you can see my reference of a Converse shoe there. I was trying to think of the name then. And so I have that in my mind on the other screen. In fact, they do sort of curve up at the end, but I decided to make them flat when I finally went to rigging because it's just a bit awkward if they're folded up or sloping upwards. So I keep them sloped upwards all the time, but when I finally get to the rigging stage, I change them. And you can see I'm just really slowly building up the shape, sometimes using the knife tool to cut in, and just generally moving topology around till I match up with the reference image. The reference image actually shows boots with a heel rather than Converse. I decided to change that because it seemed more sort of like a young kid with trainers instead of boots, and so I'm very loosely following that reference. I slowed this bit down slightly so you could see that I used the knife tool to cut in and create a supporting loop around that cut, and that's going to become the tongue, and they kind of overlap each other, so the outside of the trainer and the tongue. And I do separate out the tongue. I think that just makes it a little bit easier, as a separate object, especially when it comes to adding thickness. I use a solidify modifier for that in the end, and I think I've added it in here. I've jumped ahead very slightly. But a solidify modifier doesn't work really for the actual body of the trainer, so I create that manually. I use sculpt mode just to change the shape. It's a lot faster. I use that 2D grab brush. That's quite a handy one. You can see me selecting it there, and that grabs everything in line. It's really a handy new brush that they've got with Blender 4.3, I think. And you can see I'm slowly building up the topology count as well, so it smooths out. I don't want a subdivision surface modifier on this one. It'll just make it too complicated. So I'm trying again to keep everything simple. You can see me creating the laces here, and I just use a simple curve and then use a circle, squashed circle, as the geometry object and attach that to the curve. And you can see then it creates that kind of simple looped lace. And I just copy this back all the way up the trainers. I do actually do a mirror first, but so it's copied to the other side, and then I just repeat that, shift it around a little bit, make sure it's in position, and just keep copying that up as we go. Again, it's much easier if these are separate objects. They are separate objects in real life, so you may as well make them as separate objects. I duplicate the curve and move it to the side there, reshaping the end of the shoelace. I wanted to use a mirror, but it doesn't really work with the curve, so I just copied it across to the other side because I couldn't do the correct mirror mechanism. For the arms, again, nice simple shape, as you can see here, nothing complicated, using the crease edge tool to sharpen the edges up very slightly. And here I am modeling the hands. I've sped some of this process up very slightly, but hopefully you should see the general idea, just extruding out individual regions there and slowly building up the hand. What you might be wondering is the topology count. I'm not really worried about that because it's not really meant for games. I do tend to keep it fairly simple just because it's easier to model like that. But for things like the television set, it's a hard surface model, so it looks better when you have subdivision surface modifiers and nice creases. But for things like the hands, I'm going to use texture painting, so I keep them nice and low. I did actually add a subdivision surface modifier just for the sake of adding vertices, and then applied it and moved the topology around slightly. So I'm just adding a few of these little accessory bits in and building up the shape. Nice and simple, just an icosphere and a cylinder, nothing complicated. The zip was a little bit more complicated, so I thought I'd show you the process really slightly, just building up that shape. I always start with a plane if it's a complex object and relatively flat, and then so I'm here just using a plane, and then I'll use a solidify modifier. And I think I keep that solidify modifier on there so I don't apply it, there's no need to. Now I wanted to create an actual bow for one of the shoelaces, so I added in an icosphere in the middle as if it's a knot, and then sort of pulled the things together into it. I did really slightly sculpt the icosphere in a moment, but I left that bit out. Just wanted to show you me moving these curves around. It's a bit complicated and awkward doing a knot, but you can stylize it, and it looked relatively okay in the end. Then it's a case of unwrapping, but I make the inside of the shoe there. That can be really straightforward and simple because you don't really see it. It's more in case you see it, and then go around marking seams, as you can see there, and then unwrap. I have an island margin of 0.01. That should work out and be able to be scaled. I have to convert all my shoelaces to a mesh so I can unwrap them. And you can see I'm marking a seam on the underside so it doesn't cause any problems. It shouldn't do anyway because I'm texture painting. And I decide to put all the lower body onto one map. So I select everything. It's already been unwrapped, as it were, but now I'm packing it into this one area so that I can use one texture for the lower body. And you can see I've got a slight issue there. One of the shoelaces wasn't unwrapped properly, so I go in and fix that. And you sometimes find things are attached in terms of the island, so you have to go in and find these little areas that you might have missed. And there's the unwrap for my final lower body area. When you do those unpacks, those automatic unpacking, you can see that it can leave big spaces, especially if you have something like that TV screen where there's a gap in the middle. So I sometimes do that manually. But there's some new tools and they're relatively good within Blender 5. And now we're onto the texture painting. So like I say, I've got a different material for the lower body, the upper body, and then the TV head, and then one for the screen, because then I can paint different faces on nice and easily. Tutorials for this in terms of how to set up to paint textures, relatively straightforward. You just add a texture slot. I add in the color palette for the website. This is for gamedev TV, this TV head character, and they've got a specific color palette that they're using on their website. I'll stick to it a little bit, but I'm happy to move away from it a touch, but there's the rough colors that I want to think about and use. And you can see I'm using the fill brush to go in and just fill and block those colors in, basically. I also changed to standard instead of AGX because you get a better representation of the colors initially, and then you can kind of do more fun things with the lighting and render with AGX later on. I actually drew a face on with grease pencil as well, so you can kind of see that on there. I just wanted to see the expression almost with the colors. It seemed to make sense. I changed to a black screen later on, but I had a blue screen to start off with, which in my head made sense, but when I started to think about it, I decided against it. So for each material, I'll need to add a texture to paint on, and then I need to apply each object within that sort of layer. Let's say the upper body. Each upper body object needs to share that material, and then I can paint on them, and it will all paint onto that one map. So this is painting onto the lower body, and the trainers are part of that. And I got the block-in design there that I'm happy with. Now I start thinking a little bit more about the lighting, so I can get a better representation of what the colors might look like. Material preview mode adds a little bit of a color to it, so I like to go with something that's really plain, like that Dam Bridge HDRI. So I'm in rendered mode now, you can see here, and I'm getting a better idea of the colors. I did have a problem with the bleed, so I turned it down to 8. Make sure you do that in texture painting. Turn your bleed up at least to 8. I turned it up to 16, but my 0.01 island margin was affected by that. Here I'm setting up the layers. So I've got the base color in, want to put in a layer, so you can see, make sure the texture you add has an alpha, and then you can plug that into the factor and mix them together, and that is how you work with layers. I have got a tutorial on that in my painting playlist. And you can see I'm going around now adding details. So this is my detailed layer, and I can easily make adjustments to this. If I ever want to erase any of this, I can use the Erase Alpha brush, so I can actually use layers in this way. And I think that's what add-ons like Ukshu Paint or whatever it's called use. Here I'm using the smooth stroke just to try and make my lines a little bit less wobbly. It's tricky. Blender is not the best texture painting tool because it uses screen space projection rather than 3D projection. And you can see I'm using the Erase Alpha there, and because it's on a layer, I can erase it and it works. But it wouldn't be able to work with just one layer because you're erasing to nothing, of course. So I'll go in, adding these details. I want to add a dirt layer as well. The TV head hasn't got a detailed layer, so I use that new layer technique to set up a dirt layer just there, as you can see. And for this one, I set up a new brush. So I add in what I call a dirt brush, and then I'm using a texture. So I use an anchor brush in the texture mask, not the texture mask. That's where you add in sort of brush heads. I've got a whole folder of brushes, brush alphas they're called, that I've downloaded over the years. So I use that brush alpha with the anchor brush. So you kind of click and drag it, and you can then make this delightful looking thing that you can see here. Weirdly, I had my texture set up wrong when I was doing that. Initially, I had to kind of change it and sort it out. I forgot to put the alpha in. But once I had it set up correctly, you can see me just adding this sort of grimy stuff in here. I changed my brush actually from an anchor brush to just a draw brush now. But with that texture, it's quite nice just to use it to draw. And I changed it around and set it to randomize so it looked a bit more random. And then I add an extra layer on the jacket. So the jacket or the upper body has 2 layers. It's got the detailed layer and now the dirt layer as well. And you can see the way I'm hooking this up here, you just mix it in the same way, and you just got this sort of stepped layer technique here. So this is all now on a different layer. So it's a dirt layer and it's going on top of the detailed layer. And it does matter what order you have them. So you can see on the top left here, they kind of go down and to the right, and that's the layer format. I don't show it here, but you can just add a black and white mask if you want to do things like roughness maps or metallic maps. Now for the screen, I actually had to create a new brush, just a square alpha, so that I could draw a straight line like this. You can use line brushes as well. and you can see that I've plugged it into the emission, into the color, and turned the strength up to 10, and then I went across the compositor and added a glow effect with a fog glow and a tiny bit of a streak effect as well. So I brought that right down, just really subtly in there, helps give it that kind of realism. Then we're across to Rigify, added the Rigify rig, delete the head. So you go around deleting anything that has face in the name, and just watch out for the extra bone that's inside the spine 6 bone, which is really awkward. Just make sure that's deleted. And then it's a case of moving the rig into position. This bone down here needs to be the same width as your shoe, and the same bone needs to go at the very back corner so the foot roll works correctly. When it comes to the fingers, it's really useful to use snap to volume. So you select the finger points, and then with snap to volume, they will go inside the mesh. So you can grab all those, move them in, hide the rest of the mesh is a little bit easier. And the other important thing to do is to check your axis and make sure they're in line, especially with the fingers. Just get the bone roll, make sure they're working in line so the X is going across and they all look like they're lining up. That makes it much easier when you come to animate. Once that's all set up, you can generate the rig. That means you can get rid of the old rig, and it's the new rig that you parent to with automatic weight. So all the objects selected, and you parent to that rig, and then you go around testing the rig. And this is where you figure out that you need to do lots of weight painting. So you can see some things are moving a bit weirdly, like the zip there is going all over the place. The arm is moving the TV head, and you don't want that. So there's a few things we need to figure out. So I make sure my deformed bones are visible by pressing the star to the head, and make sure that the head is then attached to that spine 6 bone. That's the one it needs to be attached to. So with the TV selected, select the deformed spine 006, as you can see there. Make sure auto normalize is on as well, and assign a weight of 1. That will remove anything or any other bones and make sure that's the only bone that's affected. So now when I go back to the rig, turn off that deform bones and then move the head, it's rotating the TV shell anyway, the one I've added to that bone, and then I go through all the other objects of the head, making sure that they're all attached to that bone as well. And you can see when I rotate it now, it's all working together. So that's great. The other aspects though are a little bit more tricky. You actually have to go into the weight paint mode and start painting bits that you don't want. Again, make sure that auto normalizes on, then you can remove weights of certain bones or add up to a level of 1 rather than having multiple bones attached to parts of your mesh. It can be quite awkward if you haven't got auto normalize turned on. I feel like it should be on by default really. So I just go around making sure that they're all hooked up. There are certain aspects that you need to make sure the foot, for example, here is exactly the same as the laces in the same position. So the laces don't move a bit more than, or move away from that part of the shoe, I should say, not the foot. So what I'm doing here is checking the weights on the shoe and then making sure that matches up with the corresponding laces. After that, it's just a case of, well, I was just doing a pose to start off with, then I did some actual animation, but I didn't record the whole animation process. I was just going to put a pose. I decided to animate in the end. There we have it, the finished character. I really enjoyed the process of this one. It was nice to get back into designing characters again. I haven't done one for a while. If you've got any questions, then do comment below. If you want to know about a particular part of the process, then I can sometimes point you to a particular YouTube video. Do remember my courses and the channel membership if you want to take these things further. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.